周一長談繼續同大家深入時事話題。我哋前半段呢係講到哋 C-24呢個新嘅國籍法案。我哋而家咧繼續去談語言嘅問題啦。哋 welcome back again. And so our second major controversial topic is the language requirements. The original language requirement, which everyone is quite comfortable with, is 18 to 54 years. So within that range, you have to take the language test over that. But now you have really widened the range from 14 years old to 64. I don't hear anyone in the community they're fighting against the 14-year-old. It's okay with them. But 64 years old is a little bit they really pushing the range, because 65 you're entitled to retire, and for people who are over 50, learning a new language is really a difficult thing. So in order to have to pass that for family reunion, that is a big hurdle. How would you respond to that?
Well, we're keenly aware of that. We did, a wide range consultation across the country on that very issue. And here's what we find. We find that when people have a very elementary level of proficiency in one of the two official languages in Canada, English and French, that their potential successful outcomes are much better if they speak one of those languages. And somebody who is 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, all the way up to 64, has still a long life ahead of them. They have an opportunity when they come to Canada within the 4 of the last 6 years that they require to be here now to apply for the Canadian citizenship, to learn a very elementary level, which we feel will make them, it'll be a much more rewarding experience for them to live in this country and to contribute in this country, because at 64 years old, you're not finished.
But how do you define elementary?
Well, elementary is like, we're talking a very elementary level. It's like, it's basic, hello, how are you? I live in Canada. Just being able to fill out a postcard and say, I'm having a nice day today, it's lovely out. We're not talking about university level English or French here. We're talking about a grade 4 level, a very elementary level of proficiency.
Yeah, now there is a study book for Canadian history for everyone who wants applied for the Canadian citizenship. Is there going to be an English text that people can learn about what they will face when they are taking that language exam?
We have a lot of programs in place that people can avail themselves to. In Ontario, for example, we have welcome centers. We have Service Canada centers across the country where people can come and they can get some training in either English or French about the types of questions that they would be expecting to hear, just so they will get an understanding of the level of proficiency that would be required from them. We don't think it will be prohibitive to newcomers to Canada, given the fact that they're going to be surrounded by one of the two official languages every day for 4 of the last 6 years, if they choose to apply right away when their 4 years are done. But we do feel, as a government, very strongly that their potential for successful outcomes, even if they're not working, out in Canadian society, in their everyday life, will be much more rewarding for them.
It will be more the gentle in the exams and marking them.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not a high level university education, English or French literature examination. This is a very basic, basic questions just to ascertain that you have an understanding of either English or French.
It would be nice if the government can further publish the kind of like how to prepare for the exam. These are the questions that we're asking, so that the seniors who is taking those exams will not have sleepless night before they take the exam, because there's really an anxiety for them.
Well, my parents were younger when they came here, of course, but it was a big anxiety for them. At that time, you had to wait 5 years before you can apply. And I remember when they applied, and I remember when they went. It was a highlight for them. because they desperately wanted to be Canadian citizens. And my mother especially was struggling with the English with the English language. But she made it.
Good.
It's not difficult. It's not a difficult process to go through, and we're not making it more difficult. We're just
I just
giving
think
them
that
more
the
tools.
government they could do a lot more to ease that anxiety and doubts.
And we are, and we're constantly looking at how we can reach out to the different communities and to newcomers to empower them, give them the skills they need to go through this process. And they'll find that it'll be, there's a lot of talk about it now with the criticism here and there, but as this pans out, I think we will find that it's really a non-issue.
Yeah, I hope that will pan out sooner than later. Yeah. Now, the last the hot topic is, as you said, your mother was so eager to be a Canadian, and that's why she worked very hard. But now, the intent to reside in Canada clause that you have to pledge and sign, what is that about? Can you give us more detail? Because right now the misunderstanding is that you have to pledge that you will stay in Canada forever, and a lot of people a lot of non-resident Canadian who is now back in where they can find a better job overseas are really anxious and nervous about this. How would you explain this policy?
Well, somebody who applies for citizenship in the country, to us, should show an intention to want to live in this country and contribute to Canadian society. And we believe that the vast majority of immigrants that come to Canada want to do that. What we want to do is close a loophole of those that come here simply for the sake of obtaining Canadian citizenship for convenience, getting the citizenship, and then leaving the country and never contributing to this country again until they need one of the services that Canada wants. Canadians are telling us, and I have to tell you, the overwhelming majority of the multicultural community in Canada is supportive of that particular clause because they believe, as they came when they came to this country and come to this country to make Canada their country, that they have some intention of living here. We want to take away citizens of convenience. That's the purpose of that intent. Now, if someone is a Canadian citizen and they've obtained it here and they've lived here for a period of time and they find a job in England and their travels take them there, that does not mean they're going to be stripped of their citizenship by any stretch of the imagination. Right? They will have proven their intention to live here because they would have established roots here. Very different from somebody who comes in, makes the application, disappears, comes back, writes the examination, and then disappears again.
So this intent to reside in Canada, is that just a reinforcement for the 4 years within 6 years?
It is.
And then after they became a Canadian citizen, this intent to reside in Canada is not in effect anymore.
We're all free citizens. We can't take away people's right to be able to be mobile. We live in a global world. That's not the intention of it. The intention is, if you make your application, you have to live here in 4 of the last 6 years, and you have to demonstrate your intent to live in Canada. If your career or your education or your family circumstances cause somewhere down the road for that to change, we understand. There's no difference between, there's no provision in the Citizenship Act, and there will never be a provision in the Citizenship Act that takes away the mobility rights of our citizens, whether they're dual citizens or not, for sure.
I think that is exactly what the Canadian Bar Association has been accusing, and the kind of the criticizing is that this is unconstitutional. But once you became a Canadian, but what I've heard is that once you became a Canadian citizenship, that intent of to reside in Canada's pledge stops. You will enjoy every right as a Canadian for mobility.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no provision in the bill that says otherwise.
Great. That is a good point to understand, because now I have one special case that I would like to hear from your response. Is that around 1,500 applicants, mostly from Hong Kong and China, are now suing the Canadian government after being left in, they call bureaucratic limbo because of the cut of the business immigration program, and they are asking for $5 million per applicant. So how would you respond to that?
Well, I'm somewhat limited in the response I can give to this because it is before the courts at this time. What I can say is that in their Economic Action Plan 2014, we did eliminate the immigrant investor program, and we eliminated it because, as all governments do, we evaluate our programs on an ongoing basis to see their what the outcomes are, whether it's actually in the best interest of Canadians, and we felt that program needed to be revisited. So if one was to look at our budget 2014, they would see in there that we have pledged to come up with a new program, a new investor program. We're calling it Investor Venture Capital Fund, and the minister is actively working on doing consultations and working on the actual details of that program, and we'll be announcing it.
I think the merit of cancelling that program and start with some new program that will reflect the status quo of our demographic and our immigration, the status. I don't think too many people will question that, but the act of cutting it just like that off is what caused the grievings of the people. How would you, is that the only possible way to change the policy, is to stop right there?
Well, these are people that have been waiting in a queue. They've been in a lineup waiting to come in for many years. We just, there's no guarantees when government comes up with policy. You'll find something in this year's federal budget that may not be in next year's federal budget. As a government, we review programs on an ongoing basis, and they can be changed. That's the risk we believe anybody makes when they apply to any government program. This was not specific to any one group of people or any one country. This is just a government program that wasn't delivering the results that we wanted it to deliver for Canadians. And it's, I think we must all understand that it's the government's responsibility to always act and enact policies and laws that are in the best interest of Canadian citizens at all times. This is one of those programs that wasn't delivering the outcome that we expected it to deliver, and therefore we're changing it. It's a risk you make when you apply somewhere.
And it's also a risk that you have to take as a government to make a different decision and introduce a new program.
Oh, absolutely. And I think perhaps our communications could have been stronger on that very issue. But I think when people see the new program and what will be
when will it come up?
In short order. I don't know a specific date, but there's widespread consultations taking place.
We look forward
with
to
the
that.
business community.
今日咧，我哋周一長談好高興能夠有呢個機會。我哋呢個節目冇任何政治嘅立場，而我哋係希望所有嘅法案、所有嘅提議都能夠有一個深入嘅介紹，等大家知道佢基本上佢嘅目的、佢嘅方式。然之後同意唔同意，我哋各位觀眾心中自然有一把尺，我哋尊重呢把尺，亦都尊重所有大家嘅意見。非常多謝我哋周一長談，今日到此為止。我係黎拔佳 BC Lee，thank you，下個禮拜再見。如果各位觀眾對於周一長談或者呢一集嘅內容有任何嘅提議或者意見的話咧，歡迎大家將你嘅意見 email 到 info@longchamp.com， 多謝大家。